Are you able to hear me any better now?
Much better.
Oh, yeah.
I can't hear anybody. I don't know why.
I can.
I'll do the call in maybe, so at least I can hear.
Okay.
You can hear on mine.
Yeah, it's Jamie's we're having the problem with, and Miss Totten.
Why don't you come in here and listen?
Oh, the world of technology.
Well, it's something different every week.
Spice of life.
True. Wow.
Okay, I can. Maybe that's reverberating for everybody. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think you
that's,
just need to mute, Jamie. Put your regular phone on speaker and then mute on your computer. Does that work now?
I think so.
Good deal.
that works for me.
Sounds
Me
good.
too.
Okay, let's go ahead and do the roll call again, please.
Okay. All right. Alderman Bass,
Here.
Alderman Cleaver,
Here.
Alderman Headley,
Here.
Alderman Knox,
Here.
Alderman Stratton,
Here.
Alderman Totten.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Next order of business, approval of agenda.
No changes, Mayor.
Next order of business, proclamations. Seeing none, move on to consent agenda.
Mayor, I move we accept the consent agenda.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion carries 6-0. Next order, previous business, seeing none. New business, seeing none. Presentation, seeing none. Next order of business, public hearings. First item, vehicle tow yard conditional use permit.
Mayor and members of the board, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Trozen.
Good evening, Mayor, Board. I'm going to share my screen with you here in a moment. Can you see that?
Nothing's come up.
Not yet, nope.
Jamie, were you able to
Try
share?
it now, Mark.
Okay. There we go. Thanks, Jamie. Should be able to see that now. The applicant is Custom Cruisers. If you're not familiar with their location, I'll just highlight they're right here located on Jefferson Street. Their address is 350 Northwest Jefferson Street. To become a little bit familiar with the area, this is Jefferson Street off of Buckner Tarsney Road. This is also Jefferson Street, the outer road with I-70, Jefferson Court. Custom Cruisers is requesting a conditional use permit for a tow yard on approximately 1.4 acres. They own both of these parcels right here. The property is zoned Downtown Transition Overlay District. The 1.4 acres is just located 250 feet west of Jefferson Court. The purpose is to use this lot right here, which is just north of their property, to store wrecked vehicles and towed vehicles. The applicant property owner owns and operates an auto body and collision center. In 2004, the Board of Aldermen approved Ordinance 1648 that issued a conditional use permit to the applicant to operate a salvage tow yard at 704 Squire Court, which is legally described as Lot 2 of Squire Center Industrial Park subdivision. If you're not familiar where Squire Court is located, that is the cul-de-sac that's just off of James Rollo Road, which is just off of Main Street. Around 15 years ago, the applicant moved their business to this location on Jefferson and continued to operate the salvage tow yard under the assumption that the prior conditional use permit was still active. However, city code requires and states that a conditional use permit cannot be assigned or transferred to a different parcel of land. Therefore, the applicant property owner wants to continue using their property as a tow lot and therefore is requesting a conditional use permit for this location. This location does have a privacy fence, which is a requirement of the ordinance. For this public hearing, notice was given in the Examiner and by letter to property owners of record, 185 feet of the applicant's property. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on Wednesday, January 13th, 2021. The commission recommended approval of the conditional use permit by a vote of 4-1, subject to the following conditions. 1, that the conditional use permit will expire in 1 year. 2, the property shall not be used for salvage and only as a tow yard. And 3, no driveway shall be allowed to access the property on the north side when Northwest Bush Street is extended. So referring to the map and aerial photo that's above you, this area is a little bit old, but right now Bush Street has been built. That's located right up here. Bush Street extends north and to the east. When Mercata Plaza is eventually developed, it will extend Bush Street to connect to Jefferson Street. The condition that I just read to you basically would state that the applicant would not be allowed a driveway off their property to their property and this tow facility lot to the north. Are there any questions?
They're going to be coming in off the freeway?
Well, they currently have an existing driveway off of Jefferson Street. That's this driveway here. So they currently use their existing parking lot and all vehicles go through a gated fenced area and are stored in this area right here.
Okay.
On these conditional use purposes, are they all normally just for a year, or is there a reason this is only for a year?
I believe the Plan Commission in their discussion, why they only granted it for a year, was the discussion focused around on the type of the use. And because of the development that was occurring around this with Mercata being, a future retail commercial development, they wanted to see how that was going to develop around to the north. Also, there was some concerns in regards to the vehicles as far as from an environmental standpoint, any kind of fluid leaking from the vehicles, what impact that might have on the surrounding area.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions?
So this is Alderman Cleaver. So the extension is just for 1 year, correct?
The permit would be granted for 1 year. That was the recommendation by the Planning Commission.
So Mark, this is Bob. if after 1 year, something happens and say it doesn't get reapproved, then they can't use that as a tow lot anymore? Is that basically what it boils down to?
Yes.
And it would just be an equipment lot?
Yes, well, it would basically be their business. So their business is in the business of collision and repairing wrecked vehicles, so they would use that facility for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Is the area not already zoned for this type of business?
The zoning ordinance requires tow lots to have a conditional use permit. So for their business, as far as operating a repair for vehicles, it is allowed per the zoning ordinance. But for a tow yard or salvage yard, it requires a conditional use permit.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to and Eagle convenience store.
Mayor,
Yes.
we need to have Jamie open it up for anyone.
Oh,
else
okay.
in the
I'm
meeting.
sorry. All right. Jamie,
So
has
we have
anyone
to-
not?
So we have to actually ask if there's any citizens that, or open it up for citizen comment. And then
Okay.
I can hit the unmute button. If anyone wants to chime in, this is your chance to do that.
Okay, any citizens want to comment on this issue?
And I'm not having anyone unmute here, so I
Okay,
do not believe so.
in that case, we'll move on to the next issue. Amend Eagle's convenience storage conditional use permit.
Mayor and members of the board, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Trozen again.
Okay. Thank you. This next case, the applicant is Eagle Convenience Storage LLC. I'll share my screen again with you. Does everyone see that, the site plan? Good. So the applicant is Eagle Convenience Storage LLC. This is requesting an amendment to an approved conditional use permit, ordinance 2448, to change the exterior building materials, the roof pitch, and roof color on unit storage buildings in phase 2. The convenience storage facility is located on a 3.13 acre lot described as Lot 1 in Risinger Hills, AKA 114 Southwest Eagles Parkway. The purpose is to reduce the construction costs in phase 2. The applicant has completed phase 1 of the project. In phase 2, the applicant is requesting that the following changes that were previously approved as the conditions to the conditional use permit be approved. Buildings 9 and 10, and these are the buildings. This is building 9. This is building 10. Just to become familiar with the site plan, this is Eagles Ridge Parkway along here. Phase 1, which has been constructed, is along here. This is Lot 2. The existing homes are still here. Lot 2, once these homes are eventually demolished, is a future commercial site for future development. The applicant is on the call. He may share what his plans are in regards to development of that lot. But this is phase 2 that has not been built yet of the convenience mini storage warehouses. Again, here's building 9 and building 10. So the applicant is requesting in regards to buildings 9 and 10 is requesting that the pitch roof be changed from a 1/2 12 instead of a 4/12. So what he's basically requesting, instead of being required to put a gable roof on, is being allowed to put more of a flat roof on these two buildings. Number two, all buildings with a 1/2 to 12 pitch roofs can have a galvanized loom finished instead of a burnished slate, dark brown. So on these buildings, the conditional use permit that was previously approved, there was a requirement that the roof color had to be a dark brown. What he's requiring is this would be more of a galvanized roof color on those roofs. On buildings 9 and 10, what the applicant is requesting is that the finish on the exterior front would be a metal framing that is in the bottom picture. Right now, on the current buildings that's on the mini storage units that are being built or have been built as part of this development, the conditional use permit requires that the stone stack is on the lower half of the building, and then the upper half, you have the siding. What the applicant had requested was that we go with a full metal paneling on those buildings 9 and 10. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on Wednesday, January 13th. The commission recommended approval to amend the conditional use permit that was approved in ordinance 2448. The commission basically recommended that the roof pitch could change to what the applicant requested. The planning commission recommended that the color of the roof could change to what the applicant requested. And the planning commission came up with a compromise in regards to allowing the stone stack on the lower half and allowing the metal panel on the upper half. The staff, in its recommendation to the Planning Commission, did not request that the change of the building facade be changed to the metal paneling on the requested change. Other than a financial consideration, there was no other reason given by the applicant that the exterior building materials should be changed from the original proposal that was approved by both the Planning Commission as well as by the Board of Aldermen in the conditional use permit. If you've driven by here, the applicant has done a very good job as far as the construction of the exterior materials. The aesthetic appearance of these buildings is very pleasing as you drive down Eagles Parkway, and staff believes that that should be continued on buildings 9 and 10. However, the recommendation by the Plan Commission is the upper half should be the metal paneling and the lower half should be the stone stack. Are there any questions?
For clarification, you had originally said Eagles Ridge Parkway. You just meant Eagles Parkway, didn't you? Across from what's Captain's Sports Bar and stuff now?
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
Thank you.
Mark, this Bob. I got one question on the two buildings, or I guess, is it the two buildings you're talking about that kind of front the two lots there, or lot number 2?
Yes, this is building 9, this is building 10, this is lot 2.
So will there be fence hiding that brick eventually, or will there be fence hiding it now?
There is no fence proposed as a part of the development. You know, the applicant is on the call, so I don't want to speak for him, but but in his testimony, there is future development for lot 2. However, I don't think anyone has a crystal ball on when that lot 2 development will occur.
So basically the buildings are
Empty.
in essence the fence, and right now it would all be metal is what is being asked.
Yes,
Okay.
Those buildings now aren't currently exposed to Eagles Parkway, are they?
Yeah,
You have the two houses there currently.
yes.
Okay. And on your plans for that, when you do remove those houses, will it be exposed then? I'm
Yeah.
asking the
Oh,
developer.
oh, you're asking the applicant?
Yeah, there's a potential that that property would be more valuable to a future development if those houses were torn down. However, I don't have any current plans to tear those houses down. They're producing income, and I would prefer them to stay until there is a proposed plan to develop that right into the next stage of development there. Those are income producing properties for me, and I don't have any plans to tear those down until I'm ready to develop it.
What is the ballpark cost of you having to brick the front of that?
Pretty penny.
That's a big number, but I could say that I don't have that figure. I mean, it's in the tens of thousands. And right now the struggle is with the cost of steel. The construction of those buildings has gone up 100% on the steel costs, and lumber's gone up, has doubled as well. And so we're looking at some headwinds there with that. But I mean, ballpark 50, 60,000 to put that same facade that I put along the front there on those building 1 and 4 at those 20 by 110 buildings.
So this sets back off. I'm sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What you could say.
I was asking, so these set off back from the road then?
Yes, approximately 200 feet. The reason I'm kind of coming back to revisit this is in the beginning when we were looking at this, there were a lot of concerns and questions about what this was all going to look like. And so I tried to add as much detail into that conditional use permit. And these buildings sit 200 feet off of that Eagles Parkway. There will be development in front of it eventually. And so what prompted this was an initial meeting with Mark about the roofs. And I was just thinking, these flat roofs, they don't really need to be brown, right? And the wording says all roofs to be brown. So that was the original, when we started taking a look at that, and that kind of married me to that, even though those roofs are flat and you won't see them. And there's an additional cost to that as well.
I've not dealt with this type issue before. Do we have the option of going with his original request and going against the brick facade on those buildings? That's either to Ken or to Mark.
What was your question again, Mayor?
Yes, do we have the option of going with his original request and not putting on the brick facade as recommended by planning and zoning? Or does that have to go back to planning and zoning if we try and change it back?
Planning and Zoning Commission is only a recommendation. The Board of Aldermen has the final say. So you can modify any recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission and make a final decision in regards to the conditional use permit.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, one thing I
Answers my
would say
question.
is we run into this quite a bit, and the actual code, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 300 feet and visible from certain roadways within the city, Southwest Eagles Parkway being one. And this is it's a request that we get quite often, but it's not something that the city has ever really given on, especially when you don't have a time frame for development. In this particular area, we have a lot of money being invested with the apartments that are going in there, just a lot of money overall. So my opinion, to go completely metal panel would be against everything else that we have going down there at this point. And this is one of those things, like I said, anybody that puts a building up within 300 feet, that's a metal building, generally makes that request, but that's not something that's granted.
Okay, thank you.
Are other alternatives an option, like stucco? Would that be cheaper but still give the same aesthetic?
Yes, stucco would be cheaper than doing the stone apron.
That's not actually exposed to Eagles Parkway now, is it, with those houses there?
There would only be if you were standing right in front of the house, you couldn't see it, but from any other angle you could.
Okay, so it is somewhat exposed to the
Yeah.
parkway.
Yeah, so this is the house, one of the houses. This is one of the houses. So like Ken pointed out, there are opportunities where visually you will see those buildings, even with the houses there.
Has construction started on these new properties?
We're just pushing dirt right now.
Okay, so I mean, have you started anything yet?
I have not ordered the buildings. It's that is a dicey proposition right now, but no, I have not ordered the buildings or started construction on them.
This is Alderman Knox. Will the brick facade just be to the south, just the side facing Eagles Parkway?
Correct. All the other buildings in that phase 2 development will all be the same type, typical of the phase 1 construction that is behind building 1 and 4.
Are they flat
So-
roofs?
I'm sorry?
Are the buildings, the rest of the complex, are they flat roofs other than those along Eagles Parkway?
Correct. Yeah, everything in behind there is proposed flat roofs.
If you don't mind me asking, what would be your first alternative to, I mean, what would be the next cheapest or most cost-efficient option rather than metal? I mean, I don't know what options you've got. They're probably limited. I would imagine stucco being one of them, but I'm just curious, what option number 2 is.
The stucco would be $5 a square foot, and the stone would be $5 a square foot to install only, plus the cost of the stone. So the stucco probably be better.
And are those buildings that are on, that are built currently exist right now, do those have stucco and then brick overlaid over the top of that?
They're
Right there, yeah.
Yeah, that whole thing is sheeted with 7/16 OSB. Then the stucco or the stone goes on first over the OSB. Then the stucco carries on from there above the stone.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any additional questions?
Mr. Mayor, just for a point of clarification, the ordinance that's before you, the conditions are written as if the recommendation by the Plan Commission. I just want to make that clear.
Thank you.
And Mark, this isn't a variance that I'm requesting. This is correct.
No, you're requesting an amendment to your
Okay.
previous approved conditional use permit.
Okay.
And so the planning and zoning is recommending approval. Is that right?
The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval on the roof pitch, on the color of the roof. And in regards to his third request, what they recommended was that he put the stone on the lower half but be allowed to put the metal panel on the upper half in lieu of that lap siding that he just described. His original conditional use permit required the siding that he just discussed, which is shown here.
Okay.
So aesthetically, it would be a difference between this and metal paneling on the upper half.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Open this up to public questions. No questions from the public. In that case, we will move on to resolutions. First resolution, R21-09 is a resolution from the Board of Aldermen for the City of Green Valley authorizing the city administrator to sign a extension agreement with Lamp Reinerson Incorporated to extend the terms of the on-call professional service agreement for engineering services.
Mayor, I move that we accept resolution R21-09.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any someone gonna say something?
No.
Okay. Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, Lamprey Nearson is the company who we've been with for on-call engineering services since March of 2019. So that's someone that Mark and Dick have worked with since they've arrived with the city and have been happy with the work. And part of the original agreement allowed for one 2-year extension. And they felt that that's in the best interest of the city to extend that agreement for that additional 2-year period.
Any further discussion, questions?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion carries 6-0. Next item, resolution R21-10. This is a resolution by the Board of Aldermen, City of Green Valley, authorizing the application for grant funding through the Land and Water Conservation Fund for all inclusive playground in Armstrong Park.
I move that we approve resolution number R21-10.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Davies just to give a brief overview.
Mayor and board, this is a grant application that we're currently applying for. We've not submitted it yet, but part of the application process does include authorization from the city's council or board of aldermen to apply for these funds. We have applied for this grant in the past. There's LWCF funds currently in Armstrong Park from a grant back in the 70s. We have LWCF funds in Monkey Mountain Park. We have LWCF funds out at Butterfly Trail. These are all past grants that we were awarded. So we're familiar with this LWCF grant, and this is something that we would like to apply for. The existing playground equipment in Armstrong Park is just about reached its useful life. And so not this current budget year, but the 2021 fiscal year, we'll be looking at putting it in the budget to replace those two playgrounds into one all-inclusive playground. And our hope is that we can capture some grant funds through LWCF to help offset those costs.
Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion carries 6-0. Next item, Resolution R 21-11, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen, City of Green Valley, authorizing the city administrator to purchase 2 new patrol cars and equipment for said cars. Any discussion? Or I'm sorry, motion.
This one is for Nancy.
Yes. Resolution, Board of Aldermen of the City of Green Valley
Just
authorizing.
need,
No,
just
Nancy,
need to
you
make a motion.
I believe we need to do this for our police department,
So,
equipment in cars. So
Alderman Totten,
And it's not for discussion yet. Alderman Totten, just need you to make the motion, please.
yep,
I
you
make
just
the
read-
motion that we accept resolution by the Board of Aldermen for the City of Green Valley authorizing the city administrator to purchase 2 new patrol cars and equipment for 2 new patrol cars.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, as said in the title, this would be replacing 2 police interceptor utility vehicles that are currently used by patrol, and would roll those down to our SROs and get 2 new vehicles for patrol. So this was included in the budget for this year.
It's in the budget.
Yes.
Thank you.
How come we're buying these from Shawnee Mission Ford and not somebody on the Missouri side or local, just from my own knowledge?
So we're utilizing the MARC bid for this, which is where we typically get the police vehicles. So similar to, like, MoDOT or those state bid programs, MARC goes out and does the bids, and any of those dealerships can put in for that. In this particular time, Shawnee Mission Ford was the bid that we were going with, had the best deal.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Next item of business, Resolution R 21-12, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Jackson County, Missouri for an addendum to the distribution agreement of the coronavirus relief fund.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R 21-12.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, all this is doing is serving as an addendum to the agreement that we had previously for the coronavirus relief funds with Jackson County. Originally, those funds needed to be expended by December of this last year, but federal rulings came down and extended that to December of 2021. So that's just this is just changing that date. This isn't allocating any additional dollars or anything like that. It's still the same money that was allocated before. It just authorizes it to not have to be spent until December of this year.
Additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion carries 6-0. Next item, Resolution R 21-13, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen, City of Green Valley, appointing Mike Swisher to the Green Valley Park Board for a term of 3 years.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R 21-13.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Have a second from Alderman Totten. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this will just fill out the empty seat that's on the park board. I think most of you are probably fairly familiar with
Mike,
Mike.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion carries 6-0. Next item, ordinances. First ordinance.
ordinance-
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
B21-1,
Okay, hold on, Nancy, let me read it real fast. So an ordinance approving a petition to establish the Green Valley Mercado Community Improvement District. And now you can go, Nancy.
I recommend B21-01 for the second read.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Hold on, it'd be and approving. Got to get the ordinance number in there.
No.
I don't have
Nancy?
one. I said B21-01, but, oh, you mean 11A?
Nancy, this is on that script that was color coded and the
Yes.
numbers and everything are written in on there. Do you have that?
I
And it's
just had-
highlighted in pink.
Yes, and it's highlighted item 11-A, then it's B21-01.
I think Ken's coming to help you. Hold on just a second.
We're over here.
Yes, just read that line.
Okay. I move that we accept the second reading of bill number 21-01 and approve it as ordinance number 2537.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Bass,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Headley,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Stratton,
Yes.
Alderman Totten.
Yes, 6-0.
Next item, Bill 2102.
An ordinance approving a conditional use permit for a vehicle tow yard.
Mayor, I move that we accept the first reading of Bill B21-02 and bring it back for its second reading by title only at our next regular session.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, this is the ordinance that coincides with the public hearing that we had for the tow lot just a few minutes ago.
Questions or comments?
So would an approval of this be approving it as the staff recommended it?
Yeah, it would be approving it as the recommendation from Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, with the 3 stipulations?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Hang on
Aye.
a second.
Aye.
Aye.
Quick question,
Yes,
quick question. 3 stipulations? Is there only 2? Driveway, not used as a salvage yard. What's the third?
A year,
Oh, just that it's for only for a year?
the time, yeah.
Okay,
That's correct,
Okay.
Mark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
okay. Can we discuss it? And I totally spaced off earlier. Can we discuss the price of it at the next reading. So I don't interfere this time.
The price of it?
Yes. Because initially it was the $500. But that was going to be for 5 to 10 years. And since I'm limited to 1 year this time,
I believe that's to you, Ken.
What was the,
So the question is, the application fee for a conditional use permit is $500. So when this application fee, when the conditional use permit expires, the applicant will need to reapply. And therefore, a new application fee will be $500 in 1 year. I believe that's what you're asking. Is that right, Laura?
correct.
And so that fee cannot be waived.
yeah.
And how
and I-
long since
would
the
say
last
just-
one expired?
Hmm?
How long has it been since it's been expired? Is that what you were saying, 15 years?
Well, in this particular case, she had a conditional use permit that was issued at a different location. She was told by a city official at that time, when she moved, the permit was transferred to her new location. However, by ordinance, that was not the case. So she's been operating under the assumption that the previous permit was okay at her new location. So in other words, she's been operating at the Jefferson Street location without a valid conditional use permit for 15 years. Is that correct, Laura?
Yes, but I was under the assumption that the conditional use permit moved with us and that it basically didn't expire. I mean, as far as I knew, the permit was good, sorry, or as long as I used it as the tow lot.
You've already
we had to
been
wait
at that
for the tow
location.
Go ahead.
You've already been at that location for 15 years now? Boy, it doesn't
Yep.
seem like it.
I know, we built it in 05.
What was
And
this?
it's literally, we just use it. It's only for the tow lot. I mean, because for the city to use it for the tow lot. So, so customers or people that get their vehicles impounded or in accidents in the city limits and the police have towed, they don't have to go out of the city or God knows where to get their cars and or.
So this isn't something that's purchased yearly then, typically?
It all depends on the permit. So conditional use permits can have any time frame that you put on it. And that's part of the conditional use process. It's not uses that are allowed by right. So they're not, it doesn't say in District C2, you know, if you're one of these things, you can just have it. You have to go through this public hearing process. And one of the things that Mark and his team did, I think it was last year, was actually go through those fees because they hadn't been updated in a long time. So it's supposed to take into account things like the cost of sending out notices, putting it in the paper, staff time. So whether something's a year or 5 years, when it's due again, it's the same amount of work and time that's going into it.
Yes, but a new permit has not been purchased for 15 years though either, is what you're saying?
Yes.
But that was because of the mistake made by the city employee, correct?
As far as I know, because I was told that the permit with the basically the tow lot, and we actually had to wait for if this is showing our time, when Hickman Tow had to give up the conditional use permit, because at that time we were told there was only one allowed in town at a time. And we had to wait for Hickman to give up when he went out of business.
I wasn't aware of the cost of this when I questioned before about the time on it. It seems rather odd that they've been there 15 years without any problem. And now all of a sudden we're restricting them to 1 year at a pretty costly permit.
Yes.
I'd like to see if any of the aldermen would be willing to amend this to either 5 or 10-year permit.
So I think one of the things that Mr. Trozen had spoke about with his comments from Planning and Zoning Commission was a lot of things haven't happened for 15 years. But if you look at the area that's around there right now, that's the area that is starting to develop.
And I think given some of the future development that's coming, I would be leery about getting more than a year, just because of the unknown of what's coming right there.
Yes, I agree.
There
I'd go
isn't
for
much.
3 years.
There isn't much difference between cars being stored there for any length of time rather than vehicles just brought in for wreck repair that are going to be repaired in a month or 2 months or whatever time frame they would be sitting there waiting repairs. It just seems awful costly for a business that's been there for 15 years with no problems to say,
Right.
okay, and now all of a sudden it's going to cost you $500 a year to keep renewing this.
I agree with the mayor on that. That's a pretty hefty permit for a yearly permit.
I agree.
Well, I think though, after this year, then decisions will be made whether or not that we would allow to be a tow lot with the development that's going on. And if we do allow it, then we could look at a longer term. But the ordinance that's up for now is to extend it for 1 year while we see what the development's going to go on around it to see if, the future, we want a tow lot where we have development going in. Is that correct?
That's my understanding that was the Planning Commission's
Yes.
voice or opinion on that.
That's why you're seeing a 1 year, and then after that 1 year, we'll decide if we want to continue with a tow lot and we can look at extending it at that time or not with what development's going on around there. That's why they gave it a 1 year, basically a 1 year extension.
I don't see that much changing in a year's time is going to change anything to our decision. The area is still going to be developing. The road won't be in yet.
No.
It just seems rather costly to put this on a business when it serves no purpose. I mean, the business, like I say, the business been there, it's going to be basically the same business with or without the permitting for the storage.
So if the business stayed where it was at in the past 15 years, Ken, would there have been another requirement to purchase a use permit in the last 15 years?
I don't know the answer to that because the permit wasn't established for that, so there wasn't a timeline put on it.
Okay, so 15 years ago when they had their tow lot there or whatever was there at that location, they purchased a permit there?
Yeah, the original conditional use permit was, as Mr. Trozen said, was on, I think, Squire Court.
Squire Court, correct.
Correct.
Which was the area that kind of.
I got a
Yes.
question. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes.
My question is whether we got the permit or not, the lot's still gonna look the same. Because we got a body shop and we got wrecked cars back there. Basically is what they're making us get this permit for, is for impounds for the Green Valley Police Department to park cars there. Most of them aren't wrecked anyway. So they're there for maybe a day or two and they're back out again, if that makes sense.
So it won't change our aesthetics
Yeah, it's
of our
gonna
lot.
look the same regardless.
a whole lot, right?
So why don't we just split and go for 3 years and come back and see if everything's okay? Is that okay, Laura?
It's much better, yes. I'm good with that if y'all are.
Well,
It's all on y'all.
are we changing up what the ordinance was originally designed for here?
We'll have to make a motion, won't we, when it actually comes up for vote? Or it is up for vote.
Right.
Do we need to make a motion to amend?
This is the first read?
Correct.
Is this supposed to go back through the planning and zoning if it gets changed from a time standpoint?
That would go back to the same thing that Mr. Trozen said before about the other the storage or the storage units that these are recommendations from the
Right.
planning and zoning that we can alter. I believe.
Well, I
as
think we should have this discussion at the public hearing, not in the middle of approving the ordinance.
Sorry, I apologize. I was just kind of not thinking when you asked her for questions.
There's nothing gonna change in the operation as far as what's being brought in there, other than it would be an impound for the police department. So there is no aesthetics or effect or anything on business developing back there, because they're gonna have the same lot, the same way, either way. The only difference is this would allow our officers to tow a vehicle and keep it in the city of Green Valley if they needed to process, or a local citizen needed to go get his car. It is in our city. So the future development idea and all that, to me, kind of leaves me at a loss, because if we say no, the only thing that's going to change is our officers can't tow vehicles to our own city. That doesn't make much sense.
I'm going to go off of what you're saying, Alderman Knox. Is there a cost associated with storing towed vehicles that Green Valley police officers tow over there?
I don't charge anything. It's all what the tow company, they just
Contract
use
they
our
have.
lot. Basically, I'm paying for the permit, so that whoever tow company is using, the city's using at the time, can use my lot, so it stays local.
But there is a daily storage fee for while it's there, correct?
That the tow company charges, yes.
Yeah, and that would be the same at any other, that would be the same as it was taken to any other facility.
Correct, because it's whatever it's contracted at. Or whatever they agreed to the contract at.
Yeah,
Okay,
but you do get money for every day the vehicle's there.
A minute amount in the overall scheme. The main reason I do it, and I think I told the planning and zoning board, was the main reason I do it is, well, for one, because I've done it for 15 years and it would be a real pain. Knowing that I have done it for 15 years, to see as many people that have come in, had to walk up there to get their paperwork, to have to walk back to the police department to get their release form. And, I'm a half a mile from the police department, as opposed to 5 miles from the police department. And, some of these people, their only vehicle is they're an impound. Another reason I do it is because occasionally there's accidents that get towed to us, and it's easier for me to pull it in as a body shop to pull in the accidents if it's already sitting in my lot. So it's kind of helps me get my foot in the door with an accident.
With a tow lot, salvage yard or tow lot.
And you
Is
can
there
even
any
lose
type
the
of-
wording salvage yard. I am not going to use it as a salvage yard. That's not even in
Well,
the
so it's a tow lot. Is there any certain requirements for the surface? Does it have to be gravel? Does it have to be concrete? Does it have to be asphalt to store vehicles on? Like that?
That I'm not sure. Initially, when we built there, they just told us that our lot had to be hard surfaced within 2 years, which it technically, by the standards back then, is hard surfaced because it's AB3 and crusher run, and by like foots deep at this point.
Well, does that meet the requirements, Ken, as a hard surface? Mark, maybe Mark?
And we don't really refer to it as a hard surface in the code, and Mark, you can step in, but it would be considered, it would have to be an improved surface, and improved would be asphalt or concrete.
So it doesn't meet that requirement at this time.
So I think in the code, for things that are storage lots only, if it's not an improved surface, then it has to be there has to be screening in place for it. Is that correct, Mark?
That's correct. This does have the screening in place.
It is in compliance now.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, to you, Mr. Murphy. What would be the procedure to extend this term? Does that require a motion from one of the aldermen to amend it?
Yeah, I think since the motion has already been made with the 3 conditions that were in there, at this point, we'd need to have another motion saying what, well, do they need to vote on that, Sarah, or does it just go straight into another motion?
Since they already, let me look here, since you already made a motion to accept the first reading, I would go ahead and make a motion to amend the ordinance. And then if that is accepted, and then make another motion to accept the amended first reading. If that makes sense.
Is that procedurally correct, Sarah?
That's what I'm going with. That's I think what we're gonna do.
I'm sorry, I
Okay.
kind of made it a pain.
Oh, that's all right. Do I have a motion to extend the time period on this?
I'll make a motion to extend B 2102 to read 3 years.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none.
I would do a roll call on this, Mayor.
Okay, well, let me finish phrasing here. All right, do I have a motion to accept the
No, I would do.
ordinance as recommended?
So you've already had a
The 3
motion and
year-
a second to make those modifications. So you
Yes,
need to vote on that.
okay.
Yep.
Well, that's okay. All right, so then no further discussion on the amending to 3 years. You want a roll call on that, sir?
Yes.
Okay, a roll call, please.
Alderman Bass,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
No.
Alderman Headley,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Stratton,
Yes.
Alderman Totten,
Yes.
5-1.
Okay, do we need to go back to the original motion now?
Right, then I think you should entertain a motion to accept the amended bill number, whatever it is here,
B 21-01.
B 21-01.
Okay.
Two.
Um,
Isn't it 02? B 21-02?
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, yes.
All right, do I have a motion to accept amended bill number B 2102 for its first read?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Hey.
Motion carries 5-1. Next order, Bill 2103.
An ordinance amending the conditional use permit approved in ordinance 2448 for the Eagle Convenient Storage LLC.
Mayor, I move that we accept the first reading of bill number B 21-03 and make a second reading by title only.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, this would be the ordinance that went along with the public hearing for the Eagle Convenient Storage earlier tonight.
Right.
Any further discussion, questions?
I
Hearing
guess
none.
I'll ask the same question that I did the other one. Are we approving this as is recommended by, which board was it? The
Planning and
Planning and Zoning Board?
Yes.
Okay.
No further questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion carries 6-0. Next item of business, city attorney's report.
I have nothing to report tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, city administrator and staff report.
Just a couple. We had Mr. Trozen submitted the written report for community development in the packet. And the only other thing I had to report, barring, I guess, any more crazy weather, Teresa and I are both supposed to be going to the MML legislative conference tomorrow in Jeff City. So see how that goes.
Lots of luck.
Be careful driving.
Yeah, that is all the comments we had.
Next item of business, Board of Alderman report. Alderman Bass,
I have nothing. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Claver,
Nothing, Mayor.
Alderman Headley,
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Alderman Knox,
I have nothing to this time, Mayor.
Alderman Stratton,
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Alderman Totten.
Just everybody be safe.
Next item of business, mayor's report. I had one question. And you can't see it now, but the entrance to Valley Hills. When they resurface that, there's some joints there where it narrows down from wider to just 2 lanes, and they did a pathetic job of it. Have we signed off on that? Is there any warranty to that? Can we have them go back and re-examine, or is anyone else in agreement with me that it's in poor condition for a newly resurfaced road? And I know it's going to take someone to look at it, but.
Are we talking like Meadow where it comes into 40 or?
Yeah, well, you're coming off of 40, entering Meadow from the south. It's wide right there at 40, and then it narrows down as it gets up to the first street there, which is not sure the name of the first street, but there's a three joint patch there that is pretty rough.
So on the, if we're going from 40 highway on Meadow heading northbound, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor, on the right-hand side of the divided area,
Yes.
the contractor will be coming back and redoing that whole section. We were unable to have him come back because we were so late in the season. The asphalt plants were already closed, so we retained an amount and did not pay his the remaining amount that we owed on his contract. And he will be coming back as soon as the asphalt plants reopen and fix that area.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm glad we caught that. I was curious if they were held to a standard on that. That's all I have.
What you guys will be seeing coming up fairly quick, Mr. Trozen and Mr. Tuttle, our city engineer, are taking a little different approach with the road maintenance program this year. So they've already gone out for bid for that. So you'll be seeing that process will play out over the next few months, where we'll be doing it in nicer weather conditions. So items like that can be caught, and we will have time to get it fixed all in that season.
Thank you. Is there a need for an executive session?
I do not have one tonight.
In that case, motion or meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.